There's Olancha Peak with a little bit of snow on it. But today's not about the Sierras, even though we can see them. It's a little after sunrise. We've turned onto the highway out of Olancha. Today we're heading to Death Valley. Check out some flowers. The start of what could be a very busy weekend. Here's the Owens Lake bed. Already seen some flowers growing along the side of the road, although none here. So let's see what we can find out for today. See some snow on the mountains further north too. Speaking of snow, it's a little nippy out here. I'm dressed for the desert. Better get moving. Spotted Whitney. I think that's Lone Pine Peak in front of him. Looks like that plateau I crossed between Roscoe and Lone Pine Peak.
So, Lone Pine Peak there then? So Whitney's just kind of over in that way?
Yeah.
I can't see it.
We're here at the 190 junction. About to make the turn into Death Valley. Well, towards Death Valley. Still got a ways to go. Driving along the road, we'd occasionally see some purple flowers that looks like lupin. Decided to take a closer look. Leaves don't look like lupin. And up close, the flowers don't really either. Not sure what it is, but I definitely say it's not lupin. Pretty though.
Mm-hmm.
Some really short yellow flowers along the road too. Another unknown. And it comes in little bursts here and there. Whatever it is. Get enough of them together though, and you can see them from driving by in the car. A few Joshua trees out here too. Still haven't quite crossed the first pass yet. Still see the Sierras. Came to this Vista point. Mom was saying this canyon looked like it was cut by a river, which is kind of strange. Pretty deep little gorge. There's a valley down there, but I don't think that's Death Valley just yet. I think it's beyond the next mountain range. Might be the Panamint Valley. You can see we've just come in the eastern entrance, or the western entrance. We're heading east. Alright, time to descend into the valley. Just a little ways down the road we came across some purple and yellow flowers.
Big stuff. I'm sorry.
Here's the yellow stuff. Here's the purple stuff. Nice dark purple, probably of a Phacelia variety. If you look closely down there, there's some lighter purple flowers too. Coming right up out of the gravel. Now just about in the Panamint Valley. The Panamint Springs Resort was right up there. Just got to have to take a quick look and see if we're missing anything. A lot of these yellow bushes are blooming. That's kind of hard to tell just looking at them. They don't stand out too much. These little bitty white flowers right by the road here. Just a little bit further down the road we ran into a familiar face. The desert sunflowers. Not exactly a huge mass of them, but still pretty. Oh, look what I spy. Another 5-spot bud. I saw one up the road earlier too.
You found another one?
It's just a bud still.
Oh.
That's why you gotta get out and look. You won't see that going by in the car. Cute little guy. Some other little tiny white flower too. There's my finger. Yeah, these are real tiny. Right next to them is a brown-eyed evening primrose. Certainly not the big masses like we saw at Anza-Borrego, but nice to see them nonetheless. Mom discovered a nice little sampling of the flowers. Got a nice sunflower, some chicory, and a decent-sized 5-spot, just still teasing us though. Trust me, they're called 5-spot for a reason. Hopefully you'll find out later. A little bit larger brown-eyed evening primrose over here. Look close enough, you might even spot a purple mat. Starting to climb over the next mountain range. This is where we've come from, especially that direction. We spotted another nice cluster of these purple Phacelia plants with some more yellow ones mixed in.
That's a biggie.
Almost looks like we have a couple of different varieties here. Check out the leaves on this one versus the leaves on this one. This one doesn't quite have the stamen sticking out. That's the first one I showed you just now. So compare that one to this one right next to it. This is more the first kind we saw coming down the hill. This has more white in the center too. Kind of see that on this one.
Your brakes are burning.
Yep, somebody doesn't know how to use the low gears. Fortunately, I do. Another teaser. Getting pretty tall, too. It's probably at least a foot tall. Who knows, maybe we'll see another desert 100-spot today. If we do, I'll be sure to explain what it is. These look more like the poppies. Green looks like a match too. Another good example of the desert poppy here. Rather fine solitary dandelion too. Some other rather cute little flowers around here too. They almost look like monkey flowers, but they're yellow, not pink. Hey look, snowy Sierras. Well, we just can't drive very far without seeing more flowers, which is kind of what we came here for. Next on the agenda, Apricot Mallow. Mom calls this the Yellow River. Not bad. We're now descending into Death Valley proper. We stopped because the hills were looking kind of green and we saw some of our usual flower friends again. Yellow ones, dandelion, chicory, apricot mallow. There's a little purple daisy blooming along here too. It's kind of pretty. Some of it right there. Doesn't seem to want to open up very wide. Either it hasn't opened for the day or that's just the way it works. I haven't seen too many cactus out here yet, but every once in a while you see one. Haven't seen any blooming yet, but they are out here. Heck, I've seen them in the Sierras. We've seen this interesting plant too. It doesn't really bloom, or it has really tiny flowers. But the most prominent feature is this big bulge in the stem right before it branches out. Seen some dead ones too. Lots of flowers to see around here. I even spotted what looks like the Indigo Bush right down here. Right when we got out of the car, we noticed a rather large Brittlebush flower. Not very many flowers, unlike most Brittlebush, but the few ones there are pretty good sized. A little bigger than normal. Still descending. I think we're below 2,000 feet now. Came across this nice wash with a bunch of the yellow flowers in it. And a new one that I don't recall seeing before. A bush right down here. It's got some white flowers. Whatever it is, it's got lots of buds. We finally found a 5 spot that's not just teasing us. It's actually delivering. So why is it called a 5 spot? That's why. Look at those spots. There's 5 of them in there. I think it's safe to say we are in Death Valley now. This is Stovepipe Wells. Looks like there's some cabins to rent over here. There's an entrance station here, but it's closed right now. We'll shortly be heading north this way towards Scotty's castle. Check out this lovely campground here at Stovepipe Wells. It's especially lovely in the summertime when it's 120 degrees out here. Stopped seeing a lot of flowers, and then all of a sudden the desert sunflowers popped out again. Not huge numbers, but they're around, especially around my feet. I thought this would make a good place to do a panorama of Death Valley. It's supposed to get into the mid-90s here today. Hopefully we'll be in the higher elevations when the peak temperature hits. See, they're around. So this is Beatty Road, part of the little triangle I'm making on the roads. Cruising along here, starting to gain some elevation. Vegetation started to get a little greener. Spotted this wash, decided to take a quick peek. Pretty quickly found 2 5 spots. These actually do look a little different than the ones at Anza Borrego. Not quite as big of an orange center. Slightly different species. We even spotted some desert stars. Teeny tiny little guys. Sometimes though you can find a decent little cluster of them. Pretty nice mountain up there. So we just passed the Hell's Gate junction. That peak I was just looking at, guessing it's this one. We get higher, the flowers start coming out again. There's a few more of them down there. Not sure what that one is, and probably won't get an answer either because we're not driving up that way. Mom was noticing this plant looks a little, almost like a cross between the Brittlebush and the desert sunflower. The leaves aren't quite the turquoise color of Brittlebush. You can see some of their centers turn quite orange. From that to that. So I guess this is Hell's Gate. And the road splits. Looks like those are the Death Valley Buttes. That's Corkscrew Peak up there again.
That's the Death Valley Buttes.
Okay, sure, why not?
There's 2 peaks there.
yellow and the white brown-eyed evening primrose all both together. Usually you only see one or the other. Headed back down to 190.
Okay.
Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a couple of 5 spots that were
Got one there and 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
starting to get bigger.
That's a 20 spot. Which side of me is it on?
Right side.
Oh, no, it's this one here too.
Yeah, there's a little one.
Oh, there's a bigger one over here somewhere?
Yeah, I think you went past it. It's right over here.
Oh, yeah. Wow, yeah. 1, 2. That has 4 blossoms on it too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. You guess what kind of plant this is? It's chicory. Here's the Ubehebe Crater parking area. The crater's behind me. I just stepped out of the wind so I could tell you where we are. The crater's over there. Racetrack Valley starts right down there, about where that red car is. It says high clearance recommended, so I don't know if I'll be going down there anytime soon. I take my bike, but it's 27 miles. That'd be an all-day project and then some. Anyway, it's that way. bumpy ride into the crater. Another one. Here's Scotty's castle. And surprisingly enough, it actually is a castle. Built by people. Not just a rock formation that looks like a castle. Nice little oasis here. We're at about 3,000 feet. It's like a good place to have lunch too. Guess you can go through here on a tour. You have to pay for it. I don't think we have time for that today. Clock chimes though. Joshua trees too. Well, we had a nice little lunch at Scotty's castle. Heading out, but before we do, spotted a very nice apricot mallow. Too much further down the road. Hello. Well, earlier I mentioned a desert 100 spot. I think this one's up to 60. We're getting there. Five spots aren't the only things getting bigger and more elaborate. Started calling these things the Buldge Plants. He's got multiple forks too. Got Dandelions, Apricot Mallow, Cilia, and more 5 spots. Potentially the record breaker for now.
There's still more buds.
Okay, I easily made it to 20 without even covering half of this bush. No sweat. That is a lot of spots. Okay, so now we know where to go to see 5 spots. Spotted another indigo bush that's quite flowery. We've beaten the 5 spots to death. So let's take care of another flower while we're here. Beavertail Cactus. Bugs are having a field day with this one. where we came in this morning, is that canyon. GPS says we're more than 200 feet below sea level here. I think we've hit a pretty good bloom of the desert sunflowers. We're farther down the road now than we've ever been. We passed where we turned up before. In case you forgot what they look like. They're the primary flowers, but if you look close enough you might also see some desert stars
Chicory, there was a pink.
and a 5-spot.
Right there? No.
Might even see some purple mat. Not even 100 degrees. So Furnace Creek was down there. Pretty elaborate building right over there. More interesting mountains down there. Should be coming up to Badwater next. So this is the first parking area along Artist Drive. Supposed to be some really colorful rocks around here.
Nobody will charge you.
What?
Let's push it down.
Dad, can you move? Wait, I'm just gonna take one far away. Hey!
A little further down the road and a couple of fun dips. This should be where the artist's palette is. Probably that right there. Started to come out here to check it out. Ran into a cliff. Decided it would take Mom too long to get up there. So we saw it from above. We're going to skip it for this time. Add it to the list of things to do next time. See, you can get pretty close up there in this stuff. So this is the parking area for the natural bridge. It's about a mile up to go see it. Doesn't look like you can see it from the parking lot, so you do have to hike to it, unfortunately. Since it's getting late, we probably won't get to that today, so that'll be another thing to add to the to-do list next time. Looks like there's a few things to see up this canyon. Natural bridge is just first. So this is Badwater. Looks like there's some water.
Yeah, great.
That's a little inaccurate, but you get the idea. So there's Telescope Peak. It's very pleasant here now that the sun has gone down behind those mountains. Guess you can walk out there a little ways.
Quite a ways.
That Dante's view is probably right up there somewhere.
I think. Somehow thought it might be down a little farther, but maybe not.
I thought it overlooked Badwater.
Yeah, good.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, very. I'm just glad the sun's not blazing hot.
Me too. Good timing, good planning on this trip.
Yeah.
It's getting a little cloudy. I think the Dead Sea gets the record.
Gets the record, yeah.
Found it.
That's really interesting.
Well, we made it out here to Baker. It's very pleasant right now. I guess they fixed that thermometer. I heard it was discontinued or taken down or something. We ended up bailing on Denny's and went with Jack in the Box instead because we were running behind schedule. Time to head on up to Arrowhead.